Let's see. Hey, Lee and Shayna. Fried. Hello, hello, guys. Can you hear me well? Can someone give me some kind of sign that you guys are hearing me well? Technologically impaired here. I'm good, I'm good. Can you guys hear me? Perfect. So audio is good. Oh, I need to drink my coffee. Here we go. Here we go. Well, welcome to the show, guys. It's great to have everyone here. I see a lot of familiar names. I'm gonna start saying some hellos to Lee. You're my hero. Stefan Wagner. Wheels rolling. Yep. It's coffee time. Kids is in bed, and now it's time for a live. I know it's been a long time, but it's good to be back. This mic is not really working right now. In today's live, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to talk about a few topics that I had in mind that I find very, very important right now. So I'm going to share with you the portfolio of what we're going to be talking. And then later on, I'm going to leave time for questions and answers. And also during the talk, please make it live, and just Liat, I salute you back. Please make it as live as possible. I'm still learning this whole live thing. We're going to be talking today about the Druze in Syria. UNRWA. Apparently today, Israel made an announcement that they're closing UNRWA in Israel. About time that this terrorist organization is closed. We're going to talk about the hostage deal. Trump's suggestion, a very interesting suggestion that he was heard, saying not long ago about the Gazans and the future of Gaza, rebuilding Gaza, and questions and answers. Fizi Bubla, is he here, by the way? I don't see Fizi. Before we start, I want to just say a few words of thank you to, he's through my account, through Fizi. Roy is a very dear friend that started helping me. Please code me. Oh, how do I do that? Here we go. Add as a moderator. Here we go. Done. I want to thank Roy for helping me, for being so helpful. I will actually, maybe I'll tell you a little bit about my daily schedule so you understand how much I appreciate this help. I want to thank Shayna for always being here for me and for the boys. I've heard not long ago that they call me and Barak and Tal the boys. I like that. And Leah, a dear friend, and anyone who joined us here, thank you so much, guys. And without further ado, we're gonna start. So first I want to start by saying is, I need your help. The Druze people in Syria are facing what we call a coming possible genocide. No jokes aside, no, we're being very serious right now. Syria have been taken by Al-Qaeda. Don't mistake it. I know the Europeans are falling for it, and they're just going there with their leaders to shake hand to these ISIS member, official ISIS and Al-Qaeda member that served time in prison, in American prison, for being part of ISIS and Al-Qaeda. One does not start being an ISIS, then moves to Al-Qaeda, then back to ISIS, then start his own version of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, and one day just shave the beard, put a jacket, and he becomes a moderate. His staff, I've been receiving a lot of messages from Syrian ex-Muslims and Druze telling me, do you know that his staff, Shayna, I see you, perfect, telling me that, that his staff, there is videos, actual videos of them executing people. I remember one time I saw a video that shook me to the foundation of my soul. I saw a woman that looked kind of like my mother, and she was pleading for her life, where a bunch of men with beards and AK-47 just pushed her to the ground, and she was just begging, please, I have children, I have family. And these men just stood there, ignored that woman, and started talking about Sharia law. And then, in a dismissive action, just shot her in the head and executed her. That was a video, and that guy's in the government right now in Syria. So this helps you understand what kind of a government Syria is building. They had a golden opportunity after Israel has been kicking ass in the Middle East and Assad regime collapsed, and they had a golden opportunity to rebuild this country, and they allowed it to be taken by Al Qaeda. And that is something that, anyone who's been following Islam and Muslim countries, we all raise hope all the time. Maybe they will change. Maybe there will be something different this time. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding. Maybe there's a lot of maybes. But you know what? Again and again and again, it shows that when it comes to default, they will almost always choose or allow radical Islam takes over. And that is part of the problem that Islam have in its religion, that it just empowers radicalism. Hello, transporter. Yanai, welcome, welcome. So the Druze in Syria have came with a very brave announcement asking Israel, please take us. And to better understand, for the Druze to come and say that, for a Druze person in Syria to actually go out publicly and say that, showing his face, he just put a death sentence on himself. Today, in a month, in a year from now, the clock is ticking. But that just shows you that they probably reach to the point where their back is to the wall and they say, we have no other option. The other alternative is just worse. And I feel like it's not being shared in the media enough. And that's why we need to try, anyone who have connections, people that raise awareness. The easiest thing is to share the video, share articles about it, and help bring it to the public, so we don't end up coming to the point where it starts happening and then everybody's going to ask, what happened, why was no one there? And today, the Holocaust Remembrance Day, it kind of reminded me a little bit. I'm never going to take down from the severity of the Holocaust, of what happened there to the Jewish people, but I can never forget the stories that I was studying when I was in school, when you heard that the Jews, when they managed to flee Germany, and they were going from country to country in Europe and asking, please help us. And they were on these boats, on these ships, going from port to port. Please, someone take us. We cannot go back. We're going to be dead. And European countries just closed their gates, and they were offering their hand, please, someone come and help us. And no one was taking that hand. And they were left alone. And luckily, they managed to establish the state of Israel to come and welcome them and take them and later on protect them. And here, people study back history and say, like, if I was there, I would have done something. And here we go again. God's statement today. Yeah, he mentioned something. We'll talk about it in a second. Maybe you can share, Purple Pulp, a little bit about the cuts, because I didn't go too deep in it. But what happened is people look back in history and say, wow, it was written all over the wall. Why did no one help? And here it's happening again. There's so many, sad to say, genocides that are happening in the world right now, in Sudan. All of them are actually under Muslims, maybe a few under the Chinese. But severe abuse of human rights and systematically killing and oppressing groups of people. And again, everybody's sitting silent, which shows you, I guess, that humanity's nature didn't change. And people are either afraid to take actions or just addictive to their own comfortable life and just enjoy to imagine that they're the heroes when they watch a movie. But when it comes to the real life, to actually need to be a hero, need to stand up for what is right, need to be a Gandalf and just put your staff in the ground and say, you shall not pass. I'm not going to let this pass on my watch. Most people just don't do anything. And that's why I'm asking you guys, please, don't forget the Druze. I don't know if the right solution will be to bring them to be part of Israel or to give them their own autonomy. That's really up to them and the government of Israel to decide. But I think it is very, very, very important that we bring it up. Crusader General, what a cool name. I just found out that moderate Muslims worship Santa Muhammad, reindeer Allah, and read the Disney Quran. Yeah, moderate Islam. Here's another thing. You know what? Let me talk about what Crusade thing said here. Thank you so much for the super thanks, Crusade. I appreciate that. I see in Europe now a shift when they're just overwhelmingly being exposed to radical Islam. Not few days ago, there was a stabbing in Germany. The media is keeping it hush. An Afghan Muslim migrant went and followed a daycare teacher. And here in Germany is the cutest thing. I see it in my town as well. They have this like wooden bicycle that have many chairs, and you put on a 2 years old and all sitting there cute with their colored vest, the reflector, and they take them to a playground where they play with them and they're bringing them back. He followed that person to a playground, then he attacked and he stabbed and killed children, and he killed a bystander that went and tried to fight him. He stabbed 2 years old children. Again, a Muslim migrant. And what they're doing here is they're just hushing it under the carpet again. And when they ever choose to talk about it, they started using this term Islamist. He was an Islamist. He's not a Muslim. He's an Islamist. You see, as someone that came from the Middle East, what are you talking about? We never heard that terminology. Stop making up excuses and terminologies to protect radical Islam. Let Islam handle their own cow poop. Let them stand up and raise a voice and say, this is unacceptable. We're not seeing that in the street. I haven't heard a single Muslim or seen a single Muslim tweet, ex-Muslims, yes, that went and said, this is unacceptable. This should not be allowed. This person should face the severity of punishment of the law. Nothing. The only one that are actually protecting them are liberal Christians, maybe Christians, I don't know what, Western atheists. It doesn't matter. The Western civilization is protecting it. And again, moderate Islam, they keep holding to that. I'm coming to the point that I'm just starting to realize that you just can't even use that term, moderate Islam. Stop using that. Islam have a serious problem, and some people in Islam are actually trying to deal with that problem. Let's amplify them, Luay Sharif and others. Let's bring them up. Let's help them. Some countries are trying to push a different narrative. Let's bring that and show it as a good example, but let's stop making excuse for moderate Islam. That's just ridiculous. We'll share your call for the Druze. Thank you so much, John. Jacob's trouble is around the corner. Now let me see. Hit the like, subscribe. Yep, that's true. Do you know their book teaches them to do that? Oh yeah. When I was in university, I almost got kicked out of my Islamic studies classes because the professor was Muslim. And I came in and suggested, in Islam, they call the attempt to conquer the world futuh. Futuh, the word means iftah al-bab, maftuh, open. The world is in darkness and we want to open the world to the light of Islam. So that is a calling that every Muslim have, to call to open the world to the light of Islam. And then you can do it through many ways: jihad, by sword, by birthright, by forced marriage, marrying young girls, and etc. And that was just when the Arab Spring started to happen. Obama called the Arab Spring. Everybody who understood something knew it was the Arab Winter. And I suggested to write a thesis, and I called it, back then it was Facebook, social media is doing futuh to Islam. Because now suddenly a lot of Muslims are having a phone and they have social media and they see their, people in Norway, in Holland, people that are having a good life, people that actually, are going on vacations, seeing people from America. And a lot of these Muslims are starting to look, what's going on? I mean, how come our life is just so miserable? These leaders are not really good for us, because up until then, they would worship the leader. And I wanted to do that article and to show how social media might end up actually helping Muslims to open their eyes. And he told me, no, don't do that. And if you do that, I'm going to kick you out of the class, which was kind of annoying, but I had to respect the professor there. But whoa, how wrong I was. Yes, social media did open the eye for Islam, but the radicalness that was inside of Islam did not change. It just got amplified. They just use social media now to amplify their anti-Semitic views and anything that goes that way, and it's just insane. So yeah, that's about the Druze, guys. Now let's talk a little about UNRWA. I don't know if you heard, but today one of the Israeli ambassadors to the UN, I forgot his name, went and declared that Israel have officially gave UNRWA 48 hours to close their offices in Israel and just get out of Israel. We don't want you, illegal. They're going to take their property. They're going to basically canceling UNRWA completely. And they even called UNRWA a traitor organization who is working from within to harm the country, who are supporting terrorism. And one of the big reasons, not that this didn't come just in a day, this didn't come as a revenge. This has been going on investigation for a long time. And part of it was the refusal of UNRWA to actually address their mistakes. You know what? If UNRWA would have came in the beginning and says, you know what, guys, we've been fooled. We've been fooled. We've been tricked by all these Muslims who pretended to be peaceful and ended up being active terrorists, because we have videos of UNRWA teachers kidnapping bodies, murdering people in October 7. We have WhatsApp groups of UNRWA people sharing the videos of how they glorify the killing of the Jews. And we also see so many UNRWA facilities and headquarters that were used by Hamas to hide them, to hide their weapons and etc. And also teachings in Israel where UNRWA was deliberately teaching against Israel. So Israel came and did the right thing. And I feel a lot of it is actually with the backing of the current administration in America, which seems to be that once Trump took power, and we're not going to go into politics right now, but a lot of things starting to make sense. Suddenly the bad guys are the bad guys. It's very clear. Bad is bad. Good is good. And suddenly it's giving backwind to a lot of pro-West countries and people in the world to feel safe, standing for what is right, standing for their own. And UNRWA is going to be closed. So thank God. Yeah, it was cuts. The IDF will stay. I'll read that in a second. So about time that UNRWA was dismantled. Like I said, it's a feeding ground, breeding ground for terrorists. It was used inside out, and the UNRWA organization did not do anything, and if anything, tried to cover for it. And that is, I think, a crime, and they should be held accountable. My grandma, Safta Tova, thank you for the super thanks. My grandma was epiphany of all jokes regarding Ashkenazi Jews. Polania, but 23, and me revealed she was 45 Levant Jews, 30% Iraqi Jew, and less than 10% Ashkenazi Jew, and also she was 5% Jews? Wow, that's pretty cool. Someone was naughty in the background there, somewhere like back in the past. I love that. I love that. Really, that's cool. You know what? Actually, I found out from several genetic studies that the Druze originated from the mountains of Turkey. And next to them was the Ashkenazi Jews tribes. They were living in the mountains under the Ottoman Empire. And then later on, the Jews went to Europe and became the Ashkenazi that we know in Europe. And the Druze went down to Egypt, but apparently they lived for many, many years, shoulder to shoulder, one next to another. And I won't be surprised if they have a lot of relationships and a lot of bond together. And that's just probably explain why do they get along so well even today, and why both communities who've been just struggling to survive under Muslim colonism have found each other again after hundreds of years and chose to do a blood covenant as if it was destined. And you look at it right now, what's the stories of the Druze in Israel. October 7 was a big amplifier of that blood covenant that is not easily broken. I think this is probably the strongest blood covenant that the Jews have ever had with any other nationality, and the same thing with the Druze. I know the history of the Jews very well. I don't think there was ever in the history of the Jews such a covenant like the covenant that the Druze and the Jews had. And the prime was in October 7, when their Jewish brothers and sisters were fighting for their lives, were stuck in bomb shelters, mothers, children, pregnant, Holocaust survivors. And the Druze woke up from their bed and sent their finest men and women and just went into the battle, went into the inferno, into the fire, sacrificed their life to rescue their Jewish brothers again and again and again. And we've seen that happening from the beginning of this country until today. They never hesitate to be there beside their Jewish brothers in their times of need. And I would say the Jews the same thing, never hesitate to be. And the great example was Majd al-Shams, when the Druze children were killed in the most horrific way, just trying to play football on a Saturday morning. Israel literally went to war with the entire Middle East. took down Hezbollah, went on Iran. Everybody started running like a tiger in a chicken scoop, and there's just running around. And Israel just went and showed them, do not touch our children. It doesn't matter if they're Druze, if they're Jews. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things about Israel, that shows you again and again that Israel as a government, as a country, as people, do not see any citizen as a class B. Yes, you have people in Israel that have weird ideas, and we should always keep them checked. But in Israel, the law says we're all citizens. Doesn't matter if you're Jewish, if you're Christian, if you're Druze. And what a crazy and beautiful thing from the Jews to do in their only country in the world, to make such a law. Isn't that insane? They came and they have the only Jewish country in the world. And instead of saying, no, we are Jewish, everybody else is class B, C, D, they said equal. Even more. They said equal, but you know what? Some of you have weird ideas. The only ones that are going to share the entire burdens and right are the Druze and the Jews, Cherkess and other small groups. The rest will let you pass. You're going to get all the rights, not necessarily all the obligations. Insane, right? All right, let's read some of the interesting comments here. Katz wrote, the IDF will stay in the Hermon Peak. Yeah, I've heard that. In security zone, unlimited time. We won't allow hostile forces to establish this zone from here, the Hermon, to Sueda, to Damascus axis. And act again as a threat. Will keep connecting with the friendly local population. Yeah, I've read that. And the relationship with the emphasis on the Druze population. So here is why I think Israel, my opinion, Israel should actually annex the Druze if they want, and make them part of Israel, and with the land that they're on, because the Druze are loyal to their land. And don't be mistaken, this land doesn't belong to Syria. Assad Syria, this dictatorship, Nazi-like regime, have collapsed. Syria was kidnapped by radical Al-Qaeda, and the Druze, who have their own land right now, need to be responsible for their families, for their land. And these lands border with Israel. So if Israel actually take that part with the Druze, not only that Israel gain access to strategically, superior land that will see over the Syrian valley, Emek Abacha and other places will see over Syria. So if any trouble is coming, they will not be surprised like October 7th and in blink of an eye, they're inside, or Hamas or Hezbollah. They will be able to have fire superiority, intelligence, observation, everything. So they will get a very good strategic place. They will make sure that they secure Israel better, because no one can take this from them and then rain fire on Israel. On top of that, they will have the community of the Druze, which are known to be fierce warriors and very loyal citizens who will stand there, and they know the Arab world better than anyone, will be there and will be able to help and warn and share their knowledge together. It'll be a win-win for the Druze and for the Jews. So my opinion is absolutely, if the Druze want that, I say Israel, don't miss that opportunity. One thing about the Druze, which makes them very similar to the Jews, they have no incentive to Druze you. You cannot become Druze. Same thing with the Jews. The Jews don't have any incentive to convert people to Judaism. They actually made it very hard to become, and the Jews is even impossible. And both religions live very well together because they both hold very similar values of live and let live. They hold very similar values which work very well with Christianity, because Christianity fundamentally does not allow conversion by force. It does not allow that. You need to really do a lot of mental backflips to convince the people to do that, which they tried during the time of the Roman Catholic Church and before. But in general, Christianity, Judaism, and the Druze have that very, very similar, that they're not going to force anyone to convert to them. And some that was actually going to try to make it harder, and the Druze is even impossible. So that's why I think these are very good allies and they should stick together. Crusader General, thank you again for this generous super chat. I'm still new to this, I'm getting new to this, so be with me. I blame the Jews of Medina. If they didn't laugh at Muhammad when proclaimed his Jewish prophethood, there would have been no. That's a very interesting. That shows that Crusader General knows his history a little bit. Let me explain to you. When Muhammad came with the idea to start a new religion, there was a lot of rumors about messianic prophecies hovering around the desert land, around the area of the Middle East. It was a very prominent thing, and it was reaching a lot of people. People back then lived on story, the art of storytelling, my favorite art, and Lee is going to agree to that. The art of storytelling is something that has been going through ancient times. It's something that kept people together around the fire in the cave, and they just will share stories from battles, from childhood, from jokes. And the stories about a Messiah, about that religion, about a prophet were very much happening. And Muhammad saw the opportunity that this is right now a good chance to actually rally the people if they will see me as the prophet. But how am I just going to go and tell them, hey guys, I'm a prophet, follow me? So he thought to himself, how should I do that? And his first reaction was, which was very smart, let me go to the people of the book, the people who actually brought us this religion. And if I can convince them that it's in their benefit and my benefit, that they will say that I am the prophet that they have been talking about all along these years, then I can come back to all the people here. I'm going to have the gushpanka, the stamp of the Jews, and I'm going to rally everyone. I'm going to become the most famous warlord ever to live in this planet. He went to the Jews, and the Jews obviously laughed at him, which what is Crusader General is saying here. They kind of mocked him, laughed at him, and says, you're lunatic. Go. No one. There's nothing written in this book about you. I mean, who are you? Just leave us alone. Which is kind of a normal response that you will have when you have such a serious religion, that you practice it so seriously, that you read every letter, that you are so loyal to it, that when they found the Qumran scrolls and they found the book of Isaiah, and they went back thousands of years and they found that letter to letter, it was the same Bible. What we have today in your shelves to what they had there, nothing almost changed in terms of the text. And that's because the Jews were so zealous about being loyal to the word, being loyal to the Bible itself and how it's written. And then comes this joker and, hey guys, can I be your prophet? Can you make me your prophet? And they said, no, get out of here. And then he got really angry, and he went on, did some loops around, got his people, went on and slaughtered the Jews. And you hear that a lot right now, Haybar, Ya Yahud, and etc. These are just examples of how Muhammad and his warlords went to Jewish villages and just slaughtered everyone. Terrible stories, terrible, history, but it just Quran is full of it. But that, what he's saying is, if they did not laugh at him, a lot of time humiliation or someone hurting your ego can be your motivation to move. So maybe that was the case. Interesting. Anyone on the platform should be important to get the fact out there. It proves there is no compromise possible. Okay, I didn't get exactly what is that. Love from Japan. Oh la la, I have people from Japan here. I trust Fizi Bublach and Ainora to give me up, any very interesting questions so I can answer, because it's getting hard for me to follow all of them. But let's talk a little bit now about the hostage deal. And I'm going to link that with what Trump said about sending Gaza into Arab countries around. Every one of us here, I believe, rejoiced to the ceiling when we saw Naaman, Lili, when we saw these girls coming back home. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was so happy. Honestly, there were so many doubts that they will ever come back alive. And I was so happy. Musab Hassan tomorrow in Israel, what to ask him? And however, the price that were paid for that deal is very questionable. 30 to 40 terrorists with blood on their hands for every innocent Israeli. We've been in that book. We've been in that place. And that is just justifying their acts to keep wanting to do that, because terrorism is working. And they realize that every time they do terrorism, they can do demands, and the Western civilization react to it. I used to be a negotiator in the army. I did sometimes as a negotiator. And then I decided to leave it and go back to the hostage rescue units. And the reason I decided to go back to combat, to still be in the hostage rescue and not a negotiator, is because I realized that negotiation nowadays is not like it was in the 80s or the 90s. Terrorists don't kidnap people anymore and demand, give me a helicopter on the rooftop, a box of pizza, and $1 million, and release 30 of my lifetime sentence criminals. They don't do that anymore. And the reason they stopped negotiating is because the West have trained terrorists to realize that we don't negotiate with terrorism. And it was very known for terrorists that if you start kidnapping people, like Nachshon Waxman and other examples, the SWAT, the Yamam, the Shaddag, the Shayyetet, all kind of units, they will come and kill you. So there's no negotiating. And after a while, terrorists realized that's not working, and then they shifted to other methods, but they dropped a little bit the kidnapping and asking for ransom. Until lately, where we brought it back. Gilad Shalit was the peak example. We gave them 1,000 terrorists, including Yahya Sinwar, which was the arch, master of October 7. And now again, they see it's working, so they want to do it. And now we're doing that again. So I think that was a terrible mistake to do that. On the other hand, emotionally, as a father, I completely understand. And I'm happy to the sky that these girls are back. The only redeeming hope that I have here is that maybe Israel, Bibi Netanyahu and Trump went and spoke behind closed doors and says, you know what? Give them the prisoners. Get back your hostages alive. Once this is done, we'll take care of it. And if that is the case, and I think that's a brilliant idea, I think then they're going to wake up to new reality and realize, oh, ya baba, ya habibi, ya wali, what did we do? And that should be right. Anyone who practiced terrorism or kidnapping people should pay the price for it. Okay, let's see. Oh, thank you, Peter Henderson. Much appreciated. Never fight fair, exploit opportunities. Yep. That's one of the sayings in Hebrew is "B'tachbulot ta'aseh lecha milchama," which means in trickery you will wage war. And that is something that I believe came from the Bible, actually. And King David was a great example of that. He was a very cunning, strategic warrior. And he knew how to exploit weaknesses of the enemies, and he knew how to bring them down. So 100%, you don't fight fair in war, especially not the bad guys. Love Jamaica. I love Jamaica. Actually, funny story about Jamaica. Let's divert to a funny story. When I was working on cruise ships, and I was the head of security, and the HR decided to do a fun activity in Jamaica for the crew. And they said, we're going to have a paintball game. And I said, oh, I'm going for that. There's no way that I'm not going for a paintball game. So I called my deputy. I said, listen, the ship is yours. Here's the key. Make sure no terrorists enter the ship and the ship doesn't burn down. I'm out. And I went out, but I was on myself. I didn't have anyone with my friends with me. So they asked which team should I join. And they decided to let me join the team of the dancers, the performers, which was half of them were LGBTQ guys and the other half were just, dancers, female dancers. And the other team was sports staff and HR and everything. And they were all like, pumped up and, going on, cheering for each other. And the dancers were just terrified because they realized they're going to be easy prey for all these, crazy guys there, especially the sports staff, which were all, people from Britain and other places, rugby players and football players, very athletic people. So when the game started, I realized that we're heavily outnumbered. So I told the entire team with me, the dancers, so listen, guys, this is what you're going to do. When we start the bell, you have long legs, you run to that tree and you dig yourself under that tree. You don't do anything, just under that tree. You're fast as well. Run to that tree, run to that bunker. And I start giving them orders to run as fast as they can once they shoot the bell to start and just dig themselves. So you don't shoot any ball, you don't engage in any activity, you just stay there. And they said, what are you going to say? Don't worry about it. Just stay there. I'll take care of the rest. And then they ring the bell. And what happened is I started going, unloading all my paintballs as hard as I can while I was running to one of these girls. The other team was just ducking down. I went and I just glitched on the ground, grabbed her magazine, put it in mine, and went, took half the team, went into the other guy, took his magazine. So basically, I ended up using all these dancers as cash ammunition that I deployed around the field, and I annihilated the entire team completely. And they were just shocked. They hated that, but that was just hilarious. And then the team came later on. It's like, did you just use us as ammunition stashes? I said, yeah. I had no doubt that if I don't use you as an ammunition stash, you're just going to get yourself shot. So that was a fun story that I had in Jamaica. That was one of the fun ones. And then later on, they realized I was from special forces and they got a little bit upset. You should have told us you were from special forces, would have put you in our team. I said, sorry, guys. Trickery, exploit opportunities. So I exploited opportunity that the dancers were very athletic and they were very good at running, but they're not very combat brave. So I told them, just run and hide. I'll take care of the rest. Oh, right. Refrain from using trigger words. Markers, paintball markers. YouTube, paintball markers. It was a game. Thank you, Fizzy Bublach. So then come Trump's suggestion. And Trump came and made a suggestion that basically said Gaza is like a demolition site right now. There's no houses. There's 1.5 million people, maybe 2 million people there that have nowhere to live. They have no structure. They have no water, no houses. Which is, by the way, to blame on the Gazans. You know, I 100% stand behind it, because if they would have not started October 7 and kidnapped our children, men and women, we wouldn't need to go to war with them. And after they did that, you know what? They did that. It was a mistake. If they would have realized, and listen, guys, this is a bad idea. They're going to come and destroy our entire nation. Let's surrender and give back these hostages to end this war. They didn't do that. What they did instead is they used every hospital as a military base, every UNRWA school as a bunker, a military base, every mosque. They booby trapped it. A dear good friend of mine lost both of his legs in a mosque, because they booby trapped the mosque. They made them run into a mosque and exploded. Muslims booby trapped and exploded their own mosque. So the devastation on Gaza is undoubtedly, in my eyes, on Hamas, on the Gazan people. Now they have nowhere to go. They have nowhere to live. And Trump came and said, take all the Gazans, send them out. Jordan, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon. Let them stay there, maybe temporarily, maybe permanently. And we'll see what we're going to do. And when I heard it at the beginning, I said, that's an insane idea. Wow, he's like super brave for actually even saying that out loud. But then I thought about it for a second. I said, you know what? Don't cancel ideas just because they sound crazy. And I said, you know what? That might actually be the best solution I've heard so far for the Gaza problem. And the reason I started thinking that was after this hostage deal. Stay with me. Don't run away. I know some people are going to get like, oh, what are you saying? Transfer. Wait. When the hostage deal was broke, ceasefire, what did the Gazans and Hamas do? They came out of their tunnels, new uniform. I bet you they don't have any laundry service there. They just kept these uniform in a zip bag from the beginning of the war and hide this on civilians to wear them in the end for their victory parade. So they said, okay, guys, plan A, B, C. Plan A, kill the Jews. Plan B, kidnap their children. Plan C, use our people as human shields. Plans D, once the humanitarian world is going to pressure Israel, come out like victorious. Plan D involved having the uniform clean. They go out and they look to the right, look to the left, and they see a devastated Gaza, destroyed, desolated completely. The people of Gaza come out, look at Hamas coming with their clean uniform, well fed. Look at the Hamas soldiers. They're all big. They're all, healthy, well fed and clean, while they are starving. And instead of actually rage against what Hamas have done to them, what do? They start celebrating and calling Hamas heroes and going Allah Akbar. And the second thing they do is they start saying October 7 was justified. We should do it again. Start calling for another October 7. A nation that just witnessed its entire land been destroyed, who saw their soldiers using them as human shields, who brought this destruction on them, and then they come out, and then that nation, instead of start calling for peace and start saying, you know what, this was terrible, let's fix our ways, look what we've done to our people, look what we've done to our children, look at all these starving people, and look at these soldiers, these Hamas hiding in the tunnels like cowards, look at the uniform, they haven't used these uniforms, they were just hiding like cowards and using a human shield. Instead of raging on them and saying the path forward is not war, is peace. Let's have peace with the Jews. Let's have a future. What do? They say, let's go and murder all the Jews. And Hamas are victorious. Allah Akbar, Hayba, Harba, Ya Yahud, and Intifada revolution. When I saw that, I said, you know what, there's no hope. Because when Nazi Germany, the reason that Germany was able to rebuild itself was thanks to the help of the Western world, of the Allies forces. Because after they dropped so many bombs on them and beat the crap out of them, they surrendered, their leadership was gone, and then they realized that their way was not the right way, and they said, we want peace, we want to change our way, we admit our wrongdoings, and now they were able to change and shift to become one of the best. I live in Germany, one of the best countries in the world. Japan, the same thing. They were doing horrific stuff. Some say even worse than the Nazis. If you look at what they did to the Chinese, they had a secret unit that was literally doing experiments on the Chinese. And then they went kamikaze on Americans, and America dropped 2 nukes on them, and then they realized, oh, that's not good. We're bad. When you're evil, you get nukes on your head. Oh, not good. And they went and they changed their ways, and Japan became one of the greatest countries in the world. I looked at Gaza, and I saw the destruction that came on their way because of their evil doings. And what was their reaction? Let's do it again. And what was the reaction of the people? Yeah, we support them, give them baklawas. And in that moment, I realized, you know what? Maybe Donald Trump is right. Maybe he's right. Maybe the only solution is actually, take them out. Go stay with your friends. Go stay with the Sunnis in Egypt, in Jordan, in Syria. You'll blend in right away. They're Al-Qaeda. They're very similar to Palestinian views. You blend perfectly and stay there, play your games there, leave this land. Leave this land. What you're doing here is just killing yourself and killing people. And to rebuild Gaza, that's what I've read, you'll have to put about $90 billion just to rebuild it so they can live again. Who in his sane mind will give $90 billion to Gaza when Hamas is ruling Gaza? Tell me. That is literally the dumbest idea in the world, and you should not do that. Irresponsible. You will just ensure that there's going to be another October 7th, and you'll just ensure that there was ever a chance for Muslims in Gaza to live free under the destructive regime of Hamas. You just took that away, because Hamas is still, they're running in the streets right now. And there's videos all around where they're shooting people in the streets, shooting their knees, executing people because they dared to take the humanitarian food that you guys paid for with your tax money. Hamas stole it, and whoever dared to take that food from Hamas, they're going and killing them right now. And anyone that dared to say something that Hamas is not the right way, they're killing him. So why would you give money to these people knowing that they were not going to rebuild the country? They're not. They're just going to do another October 7th. So I think Trump's idea is actually not that crazy. Yael Attari, thank you for being you. That's cute. Thank you so much, Yael. I blame my mom. My mom, she's I give her all the credit for the good things, and I give my neighborhood all the credit for bad things. Gaza should go back to Israel. You know what? That's Sanja. Sanja said Gaza should go back to Israel. I think, in the big picture of all, Gaza belongs to Israel. I mean, Gaza was a town from the time of the Bible. Shimshon, Zochrenina, and he pushes that's the song that they sing when he says, "Remember me, O God, and give me strength," when he pushed, the pillars and brought them down to the Philistines. So that was before Islam came. So obviously Gaza doesn't belong to the Muslims. Almost nothing belongs to the Muslims outside of Saudi Arabia. Nothing. Literally, that's where it started. That belong. All the rest is actually colonized by them. Iran doesn't belong to the Muslims. Spain doesn't belong to the Muslims. Israel, Syria, Lebanon, it doesn't belong to them. It doesn't. They colonized it. The Ottomans, they came from Asia. Muslim went there, forced them, convert them to Islam, and then realize, let us enjoy, let's train them to become our warriors, and we can enjoy. That's what the Arab did. And then they enjoyed, and then the Ottomans came and said, why are we slaves to these lazy guys? Let's take them on. They killed them and took over the Muslim empire from them. So nothing that Muslims are standing on right now outside of Saudi Arabia, that peninsula there, belongs to the Muslims. But it will bring a lot of international problems, the Jews, that was a plot from the beginning to transfer the Muslims, and take their land. So I thought of a crazy idea, a crazy idea. I'm going to throw it in the air, popcorn thoughts. You know what? Who cares if they like it or not? What if Gazans go to Syria, Jews from Syria come take Gaza? Let's switch. You get beautiful mountains, nice olive trees there. You get beautiful beaches. I tell you what's going to happen. If Gaza would have belonged to peace-loving Arabs, let's say like the Jews, in 5 years, you'll have the most beautiful beaches on the world. You'll have grand, beautiful hotels. Tourism will flourish. Gaza will become such a peaceful, successful place. And why is that? Because you took out radical Islam from Gaza. In general, you took out Islam from Gaza. And that's the problem. The problem in all these places is not anything else. I tell you, is that religion who is devoting itself again and again to death and to death and to death, and they're just unable to get out of this vicious cycle. Maybe some countries manage to get out of there, but I just don't see this happening in the Middle East. Quran virus is brilliant. All right, let's see if I missed any other interesting. Will Jordan really take them? Fizi Bublach is asking if Jordan will really take them. Well, absolutely not. No one. That is the problem. That's why I'm saying it's wishful thinking. I don't know. I mean, Trump is very good at negotiating. He managed to convince North Korea to agree to a peace treaty. That came out of nowhere. So, he just came in office and everybody, want to surrender and stop. So he's good at negotiating. So who knows? Maybe he managed to convince the Jordanian with the right incentive. But in general, none of these Arabs, you already see it right now. They're saying, no, we don't want them. And that is actually a uh, very interesting point about global Islam. None of them want to take the Palestinians. None of them. It's been established. They had so many opportunities to take them during the war. They said, nah, not a single Palestinian. Even Egypt sent more tanks and made the fence bigger. While their brothers are being genocide, like they call it, which is a false claim. What they do, while calling there's a genocide there, what do? They go and build a bigger wall than Israel and put tanks there to make sure that none of these genocide brothers of them come to their country seeking for help. Jordan did the same. They don't want them. But what do they want? They don't want to give any land away to the Jews because they think that the world should become Muslim. So any piece of land that is under Sharia, and Gaza is under Sharia, should stay. And for them, if Gaza has been taken from the Muslims, it's a big loss for the Ummah, for the mother Muslim country. So they don't want to give any land to the Jews. That is number one priority, you'd say. And they say, we don't want them, but it's good for us that they're there. Number two, they hate Israel. They're not friends with Israel. The only reason they're not trying to destroy Israel anymore because they tried several times and they failed. So for them, this is a thorn in Israel's butt. And just like Yasser Arafat invented the Palestinian terrorist organization, which later on became, a national symbol in some way. The idea for Palestine was from the beginning, we can't destroy Israel by force. We tried, let's try to destroy them from inside. Let's try to destroy their reputation in the international community. We play the victim card so long, so hard, so loud. You tell a lie long enough, people start believing that lie. And they've been going around all the universities telling that lie, and people are believing that lie. So in some ways, the Palestinian idea to destroy Israel was working, was doing better job than their armies, than the might of their armies combined, because it was bringing the world, the Western world, to turn against Israel. So that is one of the reasons that they will never take the Palestinians, because first of all, if you take them anywhere they took them, they brought terrorism, they brought political assassination, civil unrest, they tried to make a coup. So none of these countries want them. They're considered the most radical jihadists around their region. So none of these people, no, we don't want them. Second of all, is if you do that, that means that Israel won, that means that the Jews have won, that means that God is he with the Jews? Shouldn't he be with Islam? How come we're losing? How come we're losing again and again and again? So they see that as a spiritual battle, and that's what the West refused to understand. For the majority of the Muslims in the world, the battle in Israel is a spiritual battle. Is a prime example in Arena, a mobile game app where you have your warrior and the other warrior, and you are the jihadist and he is the Western, Christian, Jews, and etc. And the moment that they're winning, it means that you are not doing right in front of the Prophet, or something is wrong. And when you're winning, it means that the Prophet is with you. So they see it as a spiritual battle, and they will never want to give up. So if that idea comes aside from just a funny idea in the air, I don't know how they're going to do it. It'll be very interesting. A Crusader General. Wow, thank you so much. You're being super generous today. I highly appreciate that. The Judeo-Christians of ancient Medina were giving explicit order from God on dealing with false prophets. Their error resulted in devastating historical consequences. He who is merciful to the cruel is cruel to the merciful. That is very true. Here is merciful to the cruel is cruel to the merciful. I very strongly agree with that. As someone who was an officer in the army who served for years in the special forces and regular brigades, and I've seen it inside out, I've learned one thing. There's wolves out there, and there's shepherd dogs. And then there's the flock. Not everybody is called to be a shepherd dog. Not everybody is called to be ready to face the wolves. But the moment that you let your guard down and start having mercy, he's a sheep. No, he's not a sheep. He's a wolf dressed like a sheep. I can smell. So Western civilization have started to condemn shepherd dogs. Toxic masculinity. He's a macho, he's this, he's that, he's unhealthy. And they start shaming them, pushing them away. They come back from battle and they get shamed in their countries. We've seen that very much in the US. In Israel, not so much. And what happened is they started taking down these men and women that have the nose to smell radical Islam, that have the nose to smell when a wolf is coming dressed like a sheep, and they start having mercy on him and start feeling bad for him. And then what happened? Their children pay the price. Prime example is what we're seeing right now in England, what we're seeing right now in Germany, where political leaders, Merkel and others, who I used to like Merkel. I thought she was a cool lady. But then she went batshit stupid with that immigration policy of her. And I'm just surprised, why is no one holding her accountable? Every death, every rape of a German citizen by a Muslim migrant that came to this country is on her and on the other politicians in the UK and everywhere in Europe for letting them come, because the warning was written on the wall. You cannot pretend when you're a politician, when you're an elected official, you're not just a hillbilly from a trailer park. With all due respect, the hillbillies from trailer park will probably do a better job than these elected officials. You should know history. You should know a little bit political science. You should know about the world. So it's not hidden from the eye. We have so many espionage, capabilities today. The West knew exactly what was going in Syria. I knew that there were death camp concentrations in Syria because of my friends and relatives in Syria. So that was already spoken in the streets. So the West knew that in Syria they're burning bodies alive like in Nazi Germany. The West knew that in Afghanistan they're marrying little girls at the age of 9, that the Taliban. The West knew what is radical Islam. They knew it. And what did they do? Tfaddal, welcome, we'll help you. Habibi, come to Germany. And they just brought them in. And now they're raping and killing their daughters, and etc. and etc. So why aren't these politicians being held accountable? Blows my mind. What happened to accountability to leaders? What happened to the days of Golda Meir? They used to say in Golda Meir that she was the only person in the Israeli government with balls. And after Kippur War came and caught her by surprise, Moshe Dayan came to her during the war and wanted to resign. And she grabbed this paper and ripped it and says, you can resign after a war. You have a duty right now. Go and defend this country. And when the war was done and they won, what did they do? They resigned. They took responsibility. They put their keys down and they said, we failed you. You elected us to make your life better, and we failed you. And somehow that disappeared. It's literally non-existent anymore. There's no responsibility from elected officials. How did that happen? They're like literally should be the one held the most responsible. We see that in the Bible. In the Bible, the priests, they had so much responsibility that if they said the wrong word, they will be struck down and die immediately in the tabernacle. Moses, the greatest leader of all time. Literally, the example they teach in school about what is a leader, one of the biggest pictures that comes Moses with, the how do you call this? Luchot Brit, in English. How do you know that word? The tablets. Moses with his staff and the tablets, the greatest leader of all time. When he came to Israel, he got so frustrated by the people of Israel because they were all the time complaining. And at one point, he says, okay, here, I'll make you a miracle. I'll show you. Here, I'll bring you water out of the rock. And he smacked. And then God told, whoa. You said, I or God? And for that, you're not entering the land. And that's harsh. When you look at it, that is harsh. Moses, anyone else, any social worker will be sitting and says, I think God, you went a little bit harsh on him, put yourself in his shoes and etc. But the message that was sent there, that when you take responsibility, when you take leadership, you are held to the highest level of accountability. And that completely disappeared from our Western society, and we're seeing it right now. And that's why politicians like Biden, like Kamala, etc., to get votes, they allow the borders of America to be completely open, knowing that the rapists will come in, knowing that drug addicts, that cartels will come in. And we're seeing right now they're actually fighting against America when they're trying to actually fight back against them, shooting at Americans in America. So many people died out of drugs. So that did not escape Biden or Kamala. I am 100% positive they knew that this will be the price, but they said, you know what? We're living in a time where there's no accountability for leadership, and we like that. Let's continue that. Let's nurture that. Let's cancel anyone that stands against that. And they basically allowed it to happen. And here we go. Where is the accountability for leaders? And I'm talking on all sides, on Trump, on Kamala, on Bibi Netanyahu, on every single leader. It should be scary to become a leader. You should be scared to say, I want to become a prime minister. You know what? Think about it. Are you ready? Do you have the right moral compass to do it? Because if you don't, you're going to end up in big trouble because you're going to be held to a higher standard. But it became the other way around. Maybe I become a politician because then I can hide my crimes and no one is going to put me in jail because there's no accountability there. So the system is completely upside down. Anyway, I went a long time about that. So I said I'm going to do questions and answer. So let's see if I missed something. UN and UNRWA and all the agencies to be dismantled. 100% agree. Ask the Sudanese, they will tell you the same. People from Sudan that came to Israel, they call the UN United Nothing. That's how they call them. Why do you think more Druze don't speak up? Mariana asks. Great question. Mariana, the reason Druze in Syria, are we talking about Syria or in Israel, are not speaking up is because they're scared. I know because I speak with them. And I hear from them. They talk to my mom a lot, and they tell her, tell Mansour thank you for the video that he did, and tell him I'm sorry that I'm not commenting or sharing his videos. That's relatives. And we're just afraid. Just afraid that if Israel doesn't accept us, or if this is forgotten in 5, 6, 10 years from now, then we're on our own. And the Druze have managed to survive for 1,000 years under Muslim colonization and genocide attempts by being wise and knowing to play the game. Knowing to stay out of trouble, out of harm's way. And when harm's way came their way, they knew how to stand their ground and fight it, but they always try to resolve things peacefully. So if that was your question about the Druze in Syria, so that's the answer. Some European Germans are trying, they are faced being called a Nazi and how horrible they are. De la Frin, you're right. I've seen that here in Germany. It's crazy how easy on the trigger are they to call people that have different opinions as Nazis. It's really weird. I would expect it a little bit more in Germany. And it's really weird when they actually have actual Nazis walking in the streets calling for a genocide, modern Nazis. I think that if Islam, world Islam, doesn't wake up very soon and, shift their ways, they're going to start to being seen as the religious equivalent of Nazism. If Nazi was religious, then it would look like Islam. And that's how it's looking right now. And the reason for that is because they're supporting genocide, they're supporting killing of gay people, they're supporting, oppressing women, they're supporting enslaving the world. There's so many things that are similar, only they have a religious agenda and they had a very secular agenda or, racist agenda. So Islam in the world need to take the gloves and say, no, that's not us. We condemn these acts. And some countries are doing that. Saudi Arabia, the Emirates, they're doing that and doing a great job at that, but they're a small minority in the big Muslim world. Shalom, and so halan. Let's see. Hopefully they ignore the insults. Jason said something very interesting. 1,400 years of Islamic conquest against Christendom, and today we've forgotten and opened the doors to them for the sake of money and diversity. Raymond Ibrahim explained it very well. Madness. It's very interesting. The reason, honestly, the reason that we have YouTube technology, that we are having this live talk right now, is because there were brave Christian knights who went in Poland, by the way, and stood against the Ottoman Empire and defeated them in battle and sacrificed, and they just went few against many with the entire might of the Christian world and the last stand that they had in Europe, and fought to the death to protect Western civilization and Christianity. And because they won, the world is not all under Sharia law right now, and all women are wearing black covers and are forced to become, sex slaves in the house, and children are being married at a young age, and men are just committing craziest crime in the name of Allah. The reason for that is because these brave Christian men from Poland and Europe that came there and fought in that area and pushed back the Ottoman Empire and stopped them. If they would have known what did their grandchildren right now with purple hair and LGBTQ nicknames and I don't know what, he, she, her, all kind of stuff, if they would have known what they have become and how they have opened their door to the same invader that they gave it all to defend, they'll be rolling in their graves. Rolling in their graves. It's insane how easily we've forgotten where we are today and thanks to who we are here. People who live a life of depression for freedom, Rebecca saying in another, and become contributing members of their own home blessing, but not all newcomers have that attitude. That's true. And you will condemn Hamas in my best Piers Morgan accent. Will you condemn Hamas in my best Piers Morgan accent? I don't remember Piers Morgan's accent. I don't know if you want me to do that. I like doing accents, but Shayna is asking, can the world help the Yazidi woman? That's another example. Another example of the world repeating its same mistakes like in the Holocaust, knowing that the Holocaust is happening and just ignoring it. The Allied forces knew about the trains delivering just cargoes full of Jews into concentration camps and equipment, I don't know what, and they could have bombed it. They were actually flying many times with too much bombs, and they didn't know what to do with it. So the pilots were afraid to land. So what they will go and look in German cities, look for lights, and just drop it on German towns, and destroying a lot of German towns, just so they don't land with it because it was scary for them to land with these bombs. They didn't bomb these trains. They didn't stop the concentration camp. This machine of burning Jews in gas chambers was working until the last minute. And now they all sit around and says, oh, never again, never again. But when really needed, you are not there. With the Yazidis again, Yazidi girls are being kidnapped as we speak by Muslims in Syria. Entire villages are being raided. All the men are being executed, and the women and children are being taken as sex slaves. And the world is doing nothing, which is insane. And it's done by Muslims. No one else is doing it, not Christians. The Christians are the victims. And they're doing nothing. I wish. I don't know. I just honestly don't know. Maybe now under Trump, maybe they will actually decide to take the gloves. Maybe Elon Musk will tweet on it and will piss off all the liberals around the world, but maybe they'll do something about it. Like he tweeted about the rapes that are happening in England and then suddenly start doing something about it. Or maybe. One thing interesting about the Yazidi woman, I've met an Iranian lady here in Germany, very impressive, Iranian Jew. And she told me that she identifies herself right now when she meets people in Europe. She says, hello, my name is this. I'm an Islamophobe. She starts right down the accent because she says, I'm so fed up with the nonsense of trying to defend radical Islam. And she said one of the easy ways for her to understand if the person that she's talking with, if he is on our side or if he is on the side of radical jihad, is ask him very simple questions. One of the questions was, what do you think about what's happening to the Yazidi women? If you're so pro-Palestine and Islam and against the Jews. And if their answer doesn't come immediately, it's terrible what's happening, it should be stopped, should be condemned, and these people should go to jail, he's not with you. He's not on your side. He is not on your side because it's undoubtedly clear that what's happening there is wrong and is criminal and should be stopped. She said the same thing about asking what do you think about Yasser Arafat. If he doesn't tell you immediately, yeah, he's a criminal terrorist, he's not on your side. What do you think about Palestine? Yeah, I'm with, he's not on your side. What do you think about, Assad, Syria? So there was like very interesting, good question that you can ask your friends back home. What do you think about that? And then you would know where is his value standing, because it's very clear what is light and darkness in this picture. Very clear. Anyone that came from that world can tell you very clear. Ask a lot of people from Iran and Syria, and they'll tell you very clear who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. Let's see. Never again is not a plea, it's a warning. People just hate me because I am not religious. No one hates you, Chris. Well, at least here, no one hates you. Let's see. Any more interesting questions, guys? If not, I will finish with a funny story that I had from work. Thank you from a Messianic brother. I love the Messianic in Israel or all around the world. God bless you, Peter Henderson. I'd love an update on the Syrian Jews who ask for protection and anxious, being so impossible for me to find any updates. Yeah, also for me. I tell you honestly, also for me, I feel like there's a lot of talks. I'm hoping that there's a lot of talks behind the scenes between the sheikhs, the Druze sheikhs and the sheikhs over there. And if that is the case, and I respect that, and it's better to keep it off the public. But then I got a bit worried that there's not enough talks, and I made my last video to stir the pot a little bit. Hey guys, if you're not talking, show us a sign. Give us a sign that something is happening. If not, we're gonna start stirring the pot because we can't allow another genocide to happen there, not to the Jews. Can Gaza become a Christian city again? Yes, if you get Islam out of it, 100%. Mansu, what are you drinking? Looks delicious. Coffee, latte macchiato. Don't try to convert Jews. There are too few of us already. Appreciate your support otherwise. Some real official data, not something from YouTube. Yusuf is asking that. Do you think they will prefer to join Israel or have their own little country? I think in a perfect world, the Jews will always aspire just to live and let live. So if they had the chance, you know what, guys, just you do you, we do us, great. But I think also the Druze always knew that they were a minority and that there's a lot of titanic big armies around them that are colliding with each other and fighting all the time. And they just need to stay out of this to survive. And I feel like in this case right now, they realize that the best chance of surviving the Muslim colonization and genocide attempt that is going in the Middle East is by going and joining forces with the Jews. We'll protect you, you protect us. Let's shoulder to shoulder, back to back. Everybody's around us crazy, back to back. I got your back, you got my back. We're not going to let anyone come here. And that's what the Druze and the Jews in Israel are doing, back to back, defending each other. And I feel like the Druze in Syria are looking, saying, we want in. We want to be with you, back to back. Who do I think they prefer to join Israel? They need the support right now, 100%. I agree with Dionysus. Yeah, I don't think Peter is trying to convert anyone, guys. He's a great dude, great friend. In general, let me talk something about converting. Let's say now you're a Christian, Messianic Christian, or you're a Muslim or you're a Jew. You obviously believe that your way is the right way. And that is right, rightfully so. Otherwise, you won't believe in that faith. And you see the joy that it gives you. It's like a Judaism, Christianity. Let's focus on the peaceful religions. And you see the joy that it gives you. So there's nothing wrong in actually coming and telling your friends, listen, since I found God, found Jesus, found the law, I'm a happier man. I don't think that is an attempt to convert. That is just sharing something that you really believe in and that you believe that will be good for the other. Then the other person can come and tell you, thank you, but no thank you. Now your job is to respect that. Okay, just wanted to let you know that it done great to my life, family life, religious, and etc. So I think that is the balance you want to keep that in. Anyway, I might have just talked regarding something that wasn't really mentioned here, but I think it was. Remember what they did when they left the gas chambers during the Holocaust, what they made out of it. I thought I was part of a Druze culture belief that they should not have their own state. Yes, that is true, Jason. And it doesn't mean that if the Druze are not under a state, it doesn't mean that they have their own state. They basically believe in the autonomy of every village with a religious authority, etc. And if there's a government above them, the Druze will not aspire to create their own country. And there's several reasons for why that rule came to place. There's a religious reason, and there is the secular, which I think is having a role here as well. Reason, when you are a small minority like the Druze who only want to survive, who respect everyone, and you have these crazy nations around you, the Crusaders, the Christians, the Muslims, the empires colliding all the time, fighting with each other, And every time they conquer a place, they basically exile everybody and take control of that land. So the Druze came and said, with a survival, kind of a card, hey guys, listen, we're not a threat to anyone, not a threat. If you are ruling, we'll respect you, we'll pay taxes, we'll be loyal citizens. Just don't try to take our lands, don't try to take our daughters, don't try to harm us, and we'll be friends. So I think there came also an aspect of surviving, of a small community that doesn't convert anyone, so they don't grow as fast and have no interest in that. They just want to live and let live, and they realize that's probably the best way to survive. So I think there is some kind of geographical, strategic reason for that religious law that was in the religion, but that's coming from a secular perspective, where I'm telling you, your father was a Druze. Chris, Khalid, marhaba. Where do you live, Chris, if you don't mind sharing? My mother was a daughter of a Lebanese Jewish woman who was married a Christian guy. Wow. Chris, sounds like you have an interesting story. A message was deleted. I haven't read it. So I trust Roy that he's deleting stuff that should be. Let's see. Great moderating. Thank you all. Wow. Yeah, great moderating, guys. Honestly, amazing. I have the best moderator on planet Earth. Probably the best in the Milky Way. I don't think there's any moderator better than Shayna, at least in our galaxy. I'll doubt if there's somewhere in Pluto someone does better than you. So you should be proud of that. And Roy, Fizi Bublach, you're doing good. You're doing good. I like giving him poop. I like giving him shit all the time. So I'll give him a slack this time. My country was also part of colonizations. Let's say yes. You are in Melbourne. You know that the reason that my sister is called Hila, is because there was a Druze woman that introduced my mom to my dad, and they got married, and her name was Hila. And my mom decided to name her first daughter. I mean, I was the firstborn, but the first daughter that came, she named her Hala after her, and that lady is living in Melbourne, I think. So just a cool story about that. Would you cut a friend who claims the war in Gaza is genocide off, or would you discuss it? Absolutely, I will discuss it with him. I will not cut a friend for any political views. I will cut a friend if after discussing it and explaining to him, I'll see that he still holds onto Nazi ideology or views, then I will, depends on the case, either fade out from that friendship and realize, I don't want to be there anymore, or if it's abrupt, I'll just stop it there. But if you cut up everyone that have a different opinion than yours, then you're never going to be able to change people's minds, or maybe have your mind changed. So I have a lot of friends. I don't have a lot of friends that think that, the Gazans and the genocide attempt on the Jews is right. I don't have a lot of these friends, but I do meet quite a lot of people in Europe that have these opinions, and I sit and talk with them. I don't cut them out immediately. Shayna is my mentor. Shayna is my mentor too. She always reminds me when I do something wrong in social media. Usually have a bit of a complex backstory. Israel supporting Muslims. Yep. All right. Let me finish, guys, with a cool, fun story that I once had at work. I was the head of security on the biggest ship in the world, biggest cruise ship in the world. Had like 10,000 people on it. And we had a whole team of security in it. They usually took former special forces to manage the whole operation. And I had this young man from Shaldag, a brilliant young Israeli guy that came and started working for me. But his problem was he had some PTSD, I think later on I realized. He was a deep sleeper and he would not wake up for work. When he wake up, he's like the best guy, literally the guy you want to go war with, but he would just not wake up. And several times the team complained that he's not waking up. And then my hands were forced to start giving him disciplinary actions. And the system said after 3 disciplinary action, you should be fired. And there came the 3rd time. He didn't wake up. And I sat there in my office and I said, what am I going to do? He's a brilliant guy. He's a good man. He will be one day a great officer. And am I going to fire him now because he fell asleep? So I was really pounding with myself. But then I said, but then again, I need to be fair for the rest of the team. So I called him to my office and he came in. I said, sit down. He says, listen, I don't care where you came from, which unit you came from. You should be fired right now. Now, instead of firing you right now, I'm going to give you one chance. We are in the island of Puerto Rico. The ship is sailing in 3 hours. Get off your uniform, go outside, go and get yourself this ancient Mickey Mouse clock with these two bells and ding, 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 the one that will wake you up with your eyes red. And if you don't come back to the ship with that clock, stay in that island. I don't care. In deserted island, I'll call your father. I'll tell him where to find you. You're not coming back to the ship. You get me? He was like, this, I'm not joking. Time is clicking. Every second that you hear, he ran outside. He went, he stopped the taxi. He gave him like $100. Says, you stay with me for the rest of the day. And he went to all the shops. He couldn't find the Mickey Mouse watch. And then he decided to go to an antique shop somewhere far away in a mountain in that island. Found an antique shop with the clock with the Mickey Mouse, bought it, came back to the ship, got in time, got just when the ship was about to sail, and told me, I got the watch. I said, good, you get to keep your job. But the reason is I came and I said, you know what? He had every opportunity, every chance, and he messed it up. Now, I'm not going to finish it right now. I'm going to give him one last chance. And if he finds worthy, if he proves himself, I'm going to keep him because that means that he has strong initiative. He is a very capable person. I'm going to give him that last chance to fight for his place. And I gave him, and he overachieved it. Later on, he became a great chief, a great officer, one of the best. And I was so proud of him. But that was just a funny story. The next morning, he came to me and his eyes were red. And he's like, this watch works. We're talking about the Mickey Mouse with the bell, ding, 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 that will wake you up So he never got late to work again after that. So I guess when you push someone to the wall where you're going to be stuck on a deserted island almost, it's not deserted, but when you're going to be stuck on an island, lose your job, and go back to your family and tell them, listen, I got fired because I fell asleep. He needed that motivation. And many times in our life, we come to a point where we need some kind of a motivation to remind us of what is important. And hopefully we can find that motivation before we come and everything is on the line. And that's what I want to leave you with. Figure out the things that are important in your life and see that you can actually fix and work with them before it gets too late and you have to go and really. Should have woke him up with AC/DC. Yeah. I didn't mention his name here. He's gonna hate me if I mention his name here. But brilliant guy. I love him. All right. Rebecca Barsef, beware. Where's Rebecca Barsef? She's here? Well, anyway, you know what? Before we finish, I want to give a shout out to a lot of Israeli influencers and advocates who are doing a great job. Rebecca Barsef is one of them. I want to, hey, Habibti. I just did a podcast with that girl. I tell you what, I was honestly surprised by how good she can interview. I felt like I was on a Pierce Morgan show. She was asking me direct questions, hard questions, like, execution style. And I like that because that brings an interesting topic. I wanted to learn from that. I said, next time I do a podcast and interview someone, I should learn from her how to ask these questions and not let go. She was not letting go and she was asking me good questions. So go watch her YouTube. Great. I think we had a great time, me and her talking. She have a YouTube channel, and please, maybe if you can put the handle here. Yeah, she's relentless. Absolutely. Another shout out I want to say for Other Barak. He just also made a great video lately. He's actually making all the time great videos, but also about the situation in the US and Israel, etc. And Traveling Clat, Tal, one of my favorite peoples online. Go check him out. Also, go check Fizzy Bublach. Fizzy Bublach is Roy. He have a cool Instagram page, and he promised his father that he's going to get more than 1,000 subscribers. I think he did. And by the way, he said that when he gets 1,000 subscribers, he's going to go dancing naked in the rain. He said that. So, Roy, did you say that? He disappeared. Very convenient. He said that he's going to go making maybe not naked. Please spare us from the naked part. But he said he's going to go dancing and send a video. So I think you passed 1,000 followers on Instagram. So I think you owe us a dance. So next time, guys, go check his channel, and I hope that you're going to see him dance. And if not, spam his DM. Yes, you did that. Well, not naked. Spam his DM with all kind of messages until he gives us this dance. Dance, dance, dance. Not naked. Borat. Borat Speedo, Mankini. Go do that. Consider adding YouTube membership. Peter Henderson, I think you're right. I was actually talking lately about creating a YouTube membership, and also in my Patreon, creating exclusive content. And when I start uploading long podcast chapters, we'll put like shorter versions with a good meat in YouTube, but the long one we'll leave it there so people who are true members can go and enjoy that exclusivity. Also, another thing, guys, I am planning on going to Israel soon, and I have very cool interviews I want to do there. One with a Shabak officer, a former Shabak warrior officer, another with several Shmona Matayim officers as well, that intelligence force in Israel with really amazing insights and stories, and a few stories from the special forces from dear friends of mine from the special forces that been to Gaza and Lebanon, and I want to sit and do a really cool podcast with them in English to bring it to the broader worldwide views. So what I decided is, since my YouTube channel, how many followers do I have, Fizzy? I'm really bad at these things. Look at this, guys. Look at this. I have 29.9 thousand subscribers. I'm almost 30,000. I didn't even know that. That is epic. Wow. So, thank you for all the people who've been in this channel, who are subscribing, who are helping. I want to say something. I told myself that when I left my job, told myself I'm going to be a responsible adult and a responsible father. And I am not going to have any expenses that over exceeds the income that I managed to make from this life, from doing content, doing videos for you. I want to go to Israel right now, and my channel cannot actually support this kind of trip. So what I'm planning on doing, I'm planning on opening a GoFundMe to help me reach Israel so I can go and interview these people, interview for you these Shabak, Shmona Matayin, the special forces, do a few videos with my mom. Maybe I'll give you even a cooking video. So in the next few days, I'm going to share that video, that link. And if you can help me share that, I'll appreciate that. If I can help to raise, we're not talking about big numbers. We're talking about, $2,000, 3,000 max to cover my flights, to cover my stay, shawarma per day, and to buy shawarma to the person I'll interview. And basically that's kind of it. I will sleep with my friends, and I'm gonna keep it as low key as possible in terms of expenses, but just to help me with that, because my channel is growing, but it's not yet there to cover that expenses. But I want to start elevating my channel and bringing you the best content that I can, and bringing you live interviews with very unique former and active special forces people from Israel, from the intelligence, from the shadow ops, all the way to the front line. Really cool stories that I think that the world would love to see that, and videos of my mom. Videos of my mom. You know what? Tell me even in the comments which Drew's food you would like. And if I'll get to Israel, I will sit with my mom. We'll make a video about it. Shayna have been shawarma day keeps the Druze at bay. Good, not away. Yes, I want to collab with Frank. He's a cool guy. So I promised Shayna I will make a cooking lesson with my mom about Drew's food, and I've been promising her again and again and again. So if I get to Israel, guys, on me, leave a comment. We'll pick the dish that you want the most, and we'll make a cooking video where me and mom are going to talk about politics and peace while making Drew's food for you. I'll bet at 50K soon. That would be cool. That would be cool. I never thought, I actually didn't even notice that I got there. 29,000 subscribers. Cool, huh? Super cool. All right. Thank you so much, guys. I highly appreciate. I definitely should do these lives more often. I want to thank every person here that came. And I'm sorry if I didn't mention all the names to thank you. But when we start doing it more and more often, I'll start to get the names better. And I do believe that the people that are here are part of this community that enjoy this kind of content. And I just want to thank you. Caro, yeah, a little contribute. Utin for you journey. Well, he must have typed really quickly before I jumped out of this call. Thank you so much, Caro Abidi. Highly appreciate that. Thank you so much. Like I said, I really want to make it to Israel. And if that works, that'll be great. And I actually want to try to take Rafi with me. So let's see if that works. If his mom lets me. She's a bit afraid of what's happening in Israel. Long live, love the lives, Mansu. Okay. Like the opportunity to chat like-minded people. Thank you. By the way, I'm going to try also to start doing split screen. with the duck app. There's an app that have a duck on it somewhere like here. And I want to try to do with so I can invite people to join me as well. And I'm not push anyone who want to join and come and talk, as long as he doesn't talk nonsense. If he does, I'll kick him out. But I would love to have people join me for these talks so we can talk and discuss all kind of stuff, especially in the lives. So if anyone can teach me how to do that, we'll start doing that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much. And you can do what you'd be. Can you do that? Would that be breaching confidence? No, it wouldn't. I I am very careful with the information that I share from the service, and I do a lot of homework to make sure that what I'm sharing is actually known or that there's a reason that we're sharing that. So yes, we always were very careful about that, and that's a very good question. Very good question. But I tell you what, people in the world love Israel when Israel is kicking ass, when Israel is looking cool, when Israel is doing what Israel does best. And people in the world don't like Israel when Israel is on the defense all the time, uh, asking for forgiveness or explaining things that are trivial. So I think Israel should start moving forward and start showing what a badass, bad tusik, crazy nation Israel is, and to show, the elite forces and the cool things that they do, and the commanders and the soldiers and the brigade and the women that we have in the army. And we have the craziest, most bad tusik women in the planet. You had fighter women pilots flying from Israel to bomb military sites in Iran, a country that oppress women so badly, kidnap women in the street, get their tusik whipped by Jewish women on a jet plane. That is Israel. So I want to share these kind of stories. I want to talk to these, fighter jet pilot females. I want to talk to these tank commander girls and guys. I want to share these stories because I think that designation, I think that is a great way to show what a crazy cool country Israel is and how it empowers its people and how they know to stand their ground. And they're just not, just not woke. Anyway, so yep, I think I spoke so much. Thank you guys. Thank you, Peter Henderson, for the idea. I will definitely. I have 11 ducks for sale. Do you really? If you do, let's talk business, man. I think they're yummy, no? Iranian women are also bad Tusik women, sober. 100%. Iranian woman, that woman that was kidnapped in the street in her bra and underwears, was one of the bravest women I've seen in my life. When I watched that, I had a Schindler List vibes. When I watched that woman out of nowhere, knowing what's going to happen to her, decide to define that tyrant regime, took off her clothes and just walked in the street proud. And they got kidnapped later on to the Sharia school where they kidnapped them and beat them up and forced them to become Muslims. But that just showed me that Iranian women are still unbroken. They're just inspiring. Honestly, I want to make a video about that. All right. Yalla. Spoke too much. See you later, guys. Ciao, ciao. Thank you, Chaina and Roy and everyone that came. Samantha. Love Wisconsin. Get Sharia out of the Middle East. Amen. How do I stop here? End stream.